Now, Norfolk isn't the only place where bizarre cases are to be found. Extraordinary emergencies are seen by A&E departments across the country. Getting something in your eye is a common complaint, but in 2004, Tony Coffey took this to the extreme when a freak industrial accident left him skewered by a 2.5 metre length of metal. Tony refurbishes retail outlets for a living. One day, he and his mate Mark were gutting the inside of a warehouse.
He was in there to remove everything so they could put a new stock room in.
High above them, a series of metal support rods were hanging from the roof. Leaving them dangling during a refit was dangerous, so the boys were taking them out.
We was clearing the site when we noticed there was this one rod hanging down. Mark said he'd go up the ladder and he'd remove it.
But as Mark climbed the ladder, the 12-metre-high rod somehow came loose.
I was just stood there when it suddenly came from the sky. It hit me and it knocked me to my knees. I was thinking, fucking hell, what's that?
Staggeringly, the 2.5-metre metal pole had exploded through his eye socket like an air-to-ground missile. Smashing down through his jaw, it had embedded itself 20 centimetres into his skull.
It felt like someone had stuck a red-hot poker in my eye. The initial instinct was, yeah, well, I'm blind, I've lost an eye here.
Tony now faced the awful realisation that if he let the other end of the pole drop, it would scoop his eyeball out of his skull like a ball of ice cream.
I told Mark to hold the other end of the rod to keep it straight because it was trying to force my eye out.
As the boys held onto the pole for dear life, paramedics and firemen launched into action.
The scene that greeted me was absolutely horrific.
It was a fairly incredible sight to be met with.
Close examination revealed how deeply the rod was buried, and it seemed it wasn't just his eye at risk. The pole lay inches away from the carotid artery, the artery that supplies blood to the brain.
Tony did tell us that he could feel it between his teeth at the back of his mouth.
My mouth was shut, so I was having real difficulty breathing and talking.
Firefighters knew if they moved that pole, they could pierce the artery, causing deadly internal bleeding.
We knew that a slight movement could be fatal to Tony, and it was very nerve-wracking, to be honest.
However, they had to cut it down, or Tony wouldn't fit in the ambulance.
I said, I don't care how it's got in, just take it out of my face, because it's fucking killing me.